Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm back to all the panels and all my beloved candidates. I am candidate M15, Aiman Hakimi bin Azmi from NSR 2416M1 would like to present my research presentation entitled The Relationship Between Sports Attitude and Leisure Time Physical Activity Among Royal Military College Students. Without taking more of your time, I would like to start with the table of content of my presentation. This will be my table of content, which consists of 5 chapters. We'll have Chapter 1, Introduction, Chapter 2, Literature Review, Chapter 3, Methodology, Chapter 4 for the result, and Chapter 5 for discussion. And now, I would like to proceed on the next slide. As for the background of the study, based on the independent variable, attitude is evaluated as multifactored concept, especially in education. According to Hawks and Wigan, 2006, attitude is a structure of directed or our behavior, although it is not directly observed. Continue on my dependent variable, which is leisure time physical activity, has been cited by Abdul Latif, Nur Omar Fauzi, and Ahmad. They cited that Bosrur that physical activity is any movement involve energy consumption. It can be either structured, non-structured, planned, or unplanned. Continue by problem statement of this research. The research stated that sports can also serve social relationship not only as way to build physical and motor skill of an individual, but as game, as recreation, and as a free time activity. And only positive attitude to the sports will make this possible. We know that attitude have strong impact on the behavior of individual by Yannick 2018. Moving on, there will be 3 research objectives in this research, which is the first one, to identify the sports attitude towards Royal Military College students during their studies. The second objective is to determine the factor that influence the sports participation in leisure time physical activity, or LTPA. And the last objective will be to investigate the relationship between sports attitude and leisure time physical activity towards Royal Military College students. Next will be Chapter 2 for Literature Review. Based on previous study by Al-Holi to 2020, the researchers stated that this method have 3 ways to approach, which are cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. Even if it's based on fact, the cognitive aspect covers belief, ideas, perceptions, and knowledge. The same researchers stated that Al-Trash 2016 used attitude to study sports activity. The study found statistically significant difference between pre- and post-testing students' attitude after the physical fitness course. For leisure time physical activity, many research has shown that the sports activity affected leisure attitude. Successfully performance in literature is called entertainment by Rona M.S. and Errol A.E. 2020. Based on previous studies, physical activity and health promotion have shifted from changing individual knowledge, attitude, and skills to influencing and changing the social and physical environment had been stated by other researchers. This would be the conceptual framework for my research. The independent variable, which is sport attitude, the researcher would use attitude towards sports for all theories, which consists of cognitive, emotional, and behavioral, while the dependent variable, which is leisure time physical activity, will test it on active leisure, moderate leisure, and insufficiently active leisure. Moving forward to chapter 3, which is methodology. The researcher used quantitative research. Therefore, the descriptive design will be non-experimental, as the researcher will provide questionnaire to the sample to gain the data. As to align with the researcher objective, which is identify the relationship between sports attitude and leisure time physical activity among Royal Military College students, the researcher used correlation design. Now, let us proceed to the sampling of this research. The population of this research will be RMC students. The inclusion for this research will be all the 16 years old or Form 4 students, and the exclusion will be 17 and 18 years old students that still have their school session there. Based on the academic board of Royal Military College, the number of students in RMC are 500 students. As we use the sampling technique, which are probability and purposive sampling, we have smaller the size to 140 respondent, which is from Form 4 students. Next, it will be the instrumentation. In this study, there are two variables that will be measured by the researcher, which are sports attitude and leisure time physical activity. In order to gain data, the researcher adopt and adapt the questionnaire from COCHA 2014 and the Godin's and Shepherd Leisure Time Physical Activity questionnaire by Sari and Erdogan 2016. The questionnaire will consist of 3 sections. The first section will be demographic, followed by the scale of attitude for all, which consists of 27 questions, and lastly, the Godin and Shepherd Leisure Time Physical Activity questionnaire that consists of 3 questions. As been shown on this slide, this is the Cronbach alpha for both questionnaires during the researcher's pilot study. Proceed to data collection procedure. So, for the first step of this procedure, we'll be getting the approval of or by ethic committees. Next, the researcher need to seek for approval from the head of organization. Thirdly, the respondent need to brief the respondents about the purpose of the studies. Fourth will be the researcher need to distribute the questionnaire to all the respondents. And lastly, the researcher need to collect the questionnaires after they have finished answering it. Last, for chapter 3 will be data analysis. So, for the first 2 objectives, which are to identify the sports attitude towards Royal Military College students during their studies, and to determine the level of leisure time physical activity of Royal Military College students, the researcher will use descriptive analysis. For the third objective, the researcher will use Bayesian correlation to identify the relationship between sports attitude and leisure time physical activity among Royal Military College students. In chapter 4, for the results, we will gain the results of the data that has been filled in by the respondents. For the first objective, it shows that Royal Military College student scores a high mean for sports attitude during their studies. The highest mean shown was cognitive factor, which is 4.43, and followed by behavioral at 4.26, And lastly will be emotional at 4.16 mean. For the second objective, which is the level of leisure time physical activity on Royal Military College students, the data showed that most of the students in Royal Military College scores active leisure compared to some of the students scored moderately and insufficiently active. The percentage of active leisure is 67.1%, while moderate active and insufficiently active only score 17.1% and 15.7%. As for the third objective, which is to investigate the relationship between sports attitude and leisure time physical activity among Royal Military College students, the researcher obtained a low significant relationship between behavioral factor and leisure time physical activity. Therefore, hypothesis 1C, which is there is a significant relationship between behavioral factor and leisure time physical activity, is being accepted with negative relationship. There was also a strong relationship between cognitive and behavioral. We proceed to chapter 5, which is the discussion of the objective. For the first objective, the result shows that Royal Military College students had a high mean of attitude. Yannick stated that participants in actively over time may influence attitude. The study found substantial changes in attitude level between group based on how often they exercise. Those who routinely exercise had a better attitude. To relate with Royal Military College students, they have their own routine that has been set up for them to do actively, freely activity. For second objective, it shows that most of Royal Military College students were in a group of active leisure. Persinia et al. 2018 mentioned that healthy behavior have a connection in high level of physical activity, and Wazes et al. Stated that leisure time physical activity promotes mental and physical healing. Psychologically and physically immersed in a challenging endeavor, people can completely withdraw or detach from other aspects of their experiencing. We can conclude that Royal Military College students have a good psychologically and physical condition as they are actively doing leisure time physical activity. The last objective, the researcher obtains that there is low significance between behavioral factor and leisure time physical activity, and negative relationship between both variables. The previous study mentioned that in male adolescents, increased vigorous physical activity was linked to increased risk of delinquency. As recent research shows that physical activity does not cure at all social ills, including juvenile delinquency. Aiming to emulate these ideals can help men avoiding marginalization. This could explain our findings higher male delinquency rate by Frequency et al. 2007. The researcher believed that Royal Military College students focus more towards their physical activities compared to their behavioral self-care. This will be the reference that the researcher had used in order to complete this research. Thank you, and please stay safe during this endemic. I am Aiman Hakimi bin Azmi, and if there are any questions, you can ask during the Q&A session. Thank you and have a nice day.